Well, good morning, church. Have you ever felt like you didn't belong? Like everyone else knew what to say or knew how to behave except for you? I remember when I was in the third grade, about halfway through the school year, my parents got a new house and we moved from one side of town to the other. I had to go to a new school, a new class, make new friends, and I had a new teacher. And this new teacher was not like my old teacher. When I showed up that first day of school there, I knew I was different. I was out of place. Uh, my new teacher, I was pretty convinced, split her time between teaching our third grade class rather, and serving as a prison guard in a prison somewhere. Uh, I was out of sorts. I was nervous and anxious, and I felt overwhelmed. Perhaps you've felt this way before. Maybe for you, it was the first time you were put in charge of something or someone that you knew you didn't have any business being in charge of. Maybe it was that first day of work, or the first time you brought your child home from the hospital. Or maybe it was sitting in that first class in college or graduate school. Or maybe for you, you're experiencing those feelings, those emotions today because it's the first time that you're trying to homeschool your child. Or maybe as a student, it's your first time to go to school online. Or as a teacher, your first time to teach online. Or as an administrator, to administrate students and teachers online. This week represents a lot of firsts for many of us. As a parent, I'm experiencing my fair share of those right along with you. Maybe for some of us, those emotions are coming because we're feeling overwhelmed, not just about school or work. Perhaps it's your first time to be sheltering in place. Or maybe it's your first time to learn how to try to work from home. Or maybe it's your first time to learn how to stay connected to friends and loved ones who can't visit you anymore. That's a scary thing. It can feel pretty overwhelming. I know there's some in our church who shelter in place is not a new thing because of health and they've had for a while now. And so for them, the first that's happening today, it's just the first day of the week. Well, no matter what first you're facing, church, I want you to know that our God is with you and he is ready to walk with you through this week. I can't help but think about how many firsts the Apostle Paul might have experienced in his life and in ministry. And some of them really good, like the first time he went to a new city and he met new people and he got to preach the gospel to those who had never heard it. In fact, it was their first hearing. But as scripture tells us, there were also some really difficult firsts in Paul's life, like the first time he got shipwrecked or lost at sea, or beaten, or mugged, or thrown into prison. Not so good firsts. And yet, Paul described it like this in 2 Corinthians chapter 4. We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed. We always carry around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our body. See, in the midst of some of these overwhelming firsts in his life, Paul didn't see these as something to be ashamed of. Rather, he saw them as opportunities for God's strength to be made manifest in his weakness. In fact, his mantra during this time was this: when I am weak, then I am strong. Church, I'm praying for us this week that as we encounter different firsts, and especially those that make us feel anxious or nervous or overwhelmed, that we'll join Paul in repeating his mantra: when I am weak, then I am strong. I'm praying that God's presence will be with us and that Paul's words will remind us that we have a God who is for us, who loves us, and whose power is shown greatest in our weakness. So, church, may the Lord be with us. May he sustain us and encourage us, and may he fill us with his peace as we serve him and others. Let's have a great week, church. God bless you.